Hi, I'm Means, and I'm a medical student somewhere in the UK. And so I've had this channel kicking about for a wee while, and I thought I'd start using it as an educational, informative platform for those interested in medical school or who are already at medical school, or just anyone who who has an interest in these things. So to kick it all off today I thought I'd speak about something called the SJT, the Situational Judgement test, and that's a test that's compulsory for everybody in the final year of medical school, and it's an exam which is used in conjunction with your educational performance measure score, and it accounts for 50% of that. So 50% would be the educational performance measure score, which involves your which is made up of your exam results. It's made up of any publications that you might have, any intercalated or previous degrees, and that makes up 50%. And then you've got your 50%, which is the situational judgment test. So it's a pretty big part of it, and then in conjunction they're added together, they're used to allocate foundation schools, so it helps with determining wherever you're going to be in the UK. So London had like three foundation schools, Birmingham is split into about 3 as well, Scotland's 1, you've got Northern up north, there's quite a few really. So what I'd like to do is first delve into the content, followed by how I prepared personally and my experiences, and also results. Okay, so the exam itself is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and it's made out of, so you have 70 questions. So of those 70 questions, 2/3 are ranking tests. Okay, so you have a bit of a fit situation to read through, and you're ranking responses to the situation described in the question. So and it's really important to look at the wording. So the wording could be something like, what would be the most appropriate things to do, and that suggests not looking at the time, or it might be, in what order would you do things with, according to the time restraints. I hope this makes sense, but I think once you've sort of done a bit of research into SJT, you'll probably get more of a gist of it. And then the last third of the paper is choosing the best 3 responses out of a possible 5. Okay, and usually those 3 go together, so it's something that you do, A, C and D, and you do it together, and it sounds like the right thing to do. And personally I found those easier, and you can probably get through them a lot quicker compared to the ranking questions when it comes to the actual exam. Okay, so my experience personally, so at my medical school we did it in December. However, in some medical schools they do it later in January, for example, and if you're not able to, I think the people who weren't able to sit it in the December sitting, if they were ill or had some extenuating circumstances, then they were allowed to sit it in January as a first sitting. So so I started using a book called the SJT at a Glance, okay, and I found it to be very helpful for me anyway. I just took it quite slow, and by the way, they're not sponsoring me or anything, it's just something that I found useful. So slow and steady with this book. I also did a 1-day SJT revision course, and there are various companies kicking about. It's not something that you have to do, but I just found it useful for me. Okay, and I'd also recommend going through the example papers on their website, definitely. And I think there were 2 when I last looked. In addition, I would say read the guidelines. So on the GMC website, and have a good look around at the SJT website. There's also something called the SJT monograph, okay, which provides some useful information too. So it's worth having a look at that. Some people might want to go above and beyond, and there's a book, there's one of those Oxford handbooks, but for the SJT I did a few of those questions, but the main reason why I didn't get through all of them was because of time restraints really, and it was like one of the last things that I wanted to do. Also some things like PassMed that you might be already familiar with, they do have SJT questions as well. Again, not being sponsored. So I would just take it slow, steady, However, the earlier you start, I think that's better, less stress. It was less sort of stressful for me anyway. And if you have left it a bit late, don't worry, all hope is not lost. Don't lose hope, just keep cracking on, do as much as you can. Go through the essential things like GMC website, guidelines, go through the practice papers for sure. Okay, so once you've done the SJT paper, you'll probably forget because, finals, if you've got finals in your last year, some people I think have it the year before, for example, they might have it in fourth year and then fifth years for more electives and assistantships. Okay, so you get hit with your SJT score along with your foundation score. Okay, so at the time of applying to different foundation schools, you don't know what your SJT score is, you just have your EPM. So you'll get a score like it might be 43.538 or 38.812, and that's added to your education performance measure score, and that's used to allocate places in foundation schools. Okay, and I think it's only used for this purpose. Once the SJT is done, it's done, and then what happens is once you're allocated to that foundation school, then you can, if it's quite a small foundation school, you can usually just go on to jobs and rank the different jobs, whatever you want, first, second, blah blah blah. And however, if it's quite a large foundation school, then what they usually do is they split it up into groups depicting different areas, and then after you're allocated a group, again depending on your SJT plus EPM score together, so that ranks you again, and also personal choice. So once you're allocated a particular area or group, then once you get in, you find the results for that, then you start allocating your jobs, and then you find out early April what your job is and what hospital you're heading to. So it's all very exciting. That's it. That's the end of my video. I hope you found it useful. Please feel free to like, subscribe and share, and if you have any suggestions for any future videos, let me know. Quite new to this, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, bye.